Road to Vostok dropped into early access, and I must say I've been enjoying it. However, it definitely needs some work. So far, I've had a few hard crashes and even a weird bug where it'll freeze for a few seconds and then the screen will become completely gray. So it'll be a completely gray screen, and yet I can still hear the game. I can move my character around, I can pause, and I can hear that, but it's just a completely gray screen. And so far, the only fix for that has been hitting Alt F4. I've also gotten stuck and glitched out on the rotor blades of the crashed heli sites. Again, had to Alt F4 to fix that one. After going through quite a few of these repeated issues, I would say I would like to see the ability to have a backup save file. Like, I appreciate the difficulty upon death, but things like game crashes, power outages, and PC issues, etc. are just bound to happen. So I would suggest that we allow players to have a backup save file, especially for such occasions as game crashes, as that is completely out of the player's control. Will players choose having backup save files? Absolutely, but I think the positives completely outweigh any sort of weird perceived negative that would come from this. In fact, there isn't a real negative. You know, more player choice, the better. There's also another issue linked to the game crashes or Alt F4ing, is that if you just completed a task and then the game crashes, when you load back into your cabin as if it was before you even went out in the first place, you still have those task items in your inventory as if you didn't complete it, but if you check with the trader and actually look at the tasks, it still says it's completed. So you can't redo tasks after a game crash. So very concerning, being that some rewards are literally shelter keys, and if it crashes after getting that shelter key before you can get into your shelter, it's just gone forever. It's broken. It's a broken situation, so something like that needs to get fixed. The next issue I would say has definitely been the enemy AI. While I appreciate that the game is very difficult, I find the AI able to spot you from basically across the map when you're just pixels. Not quite sure about that one. It definitely needs to be adjusted, because it feels like they just spot you through a little pixel opening between some leaves of a tree or the foliage. It just doesn't feel very natural or realistic. Now, the loot and events are very interesting to me in this game, because I wonder just how true randomness this is, where you can go for hours and never find an oil filter or a water bottle or a med kit to fix a head injury. I'm not entirely against true randomness, as I find that aspect to create a very interesting playthrough and tell a unique story. One player can see the boss spawn every time they go outside, and that's just how the dice rolls for them, while another player could go hours and hours and never see a boss spawn. And while that can be frustrating, I do find like when that moment happens to be very rewarding. All in all, Road to Vostok is definitely in its early stages, but it still offers a fun and unique experience. Again, I will say though, after hours and hours of hands-on time with the game, a backup save file function is a necessity to undo the frustrations of these early access issues. I'm Josh V. Subscribe to Rapid Fire and tell me what you think about the current state of Road to Vostok.